everyone, Dylan from the Smart Economy podcast. Today we're joined by Steve Leary, the VP of Americas at Kiln. How you doing today, Steve?
All is well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate this.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was walking up about to take my lunch break and you called my name out and I was like, let's go.
Let's do this.
So let's just jump in to the shallow end first. What is kind of your genesis into crypto? What was the moment you realized that blockchain was the space that you needed to pay attention to work in?
Yeah, I like telling this story. Background in TradFi, what feels like a heck of a long time ago. Did a couple of startups in the order routing and risk management space in the foreign exchange world. And my real kind of aha moment had two separate things happen that came together for an aha. I'll keep it brief. I was remortgaging my house in 2016, went to the banker. By the time I even got home from the bank, I was getting all these ads for mortgages. And I was like, that stinks, they sold my info. And I thought it really should be, they get to see my info once, they say yes or no, I take my info back home with me and then I can do it somewhere else if I want. And I thought about that and really, I couldn't see how that would actually happen. You know, even if I had my own info, how would they trust it's valid and I'm not faking it? So whatever. A few months later, I was working at the time for a company called 10 Financial Systems in the FX space, offices near MIT campus. Walking back from my favorite coffee shop, and there's a little placard saying, blockchain for supply chains. And so I went and sat in the back row, and 45 minutes later, I was like, wow, that actually, the idea of a distributed ledger, that works. And a little cryptography to make sure everything's valid, that works. And so those two events together, came together almost like Wonder Trends, and that was it, man. I was into distributed ledgers and this space, yes.
And so you also did a little bit of time working on an L1, you did a little bit of time at Circle before you got to Kiln. So what's just your 30 seconds career path through blockchain?
So started, because I come from capital markets and building order and risk management, very similar market structure in crypto. So I did that for about 6 months, got hooked on a layer 1 project in the Cosmos ecosystem. It was great, learned a lot. We didn't get the funding we needed to keep going, but again, I learned a heck of a lot. And in 2021, I was able to join I was able to join Circle and to help head business development efforts for the capital markets clients. USDC was really just taking off. I remember the day I joined, we hit 3.8 billion. And I was there to help with the charge up to 55 billion, then now 37. Stablecoins are the killer use case. I spent 3.5 years there. Things really, I was looking for something else to dive a little deeper into the actual inner workings of blockchain. Kiln as a staking services provider is fascinating to me. Running the actual validators, the hardware and the software that actually is a blockchain, doing it at an enterprise and institutional level, doing it on a global basis. I'm so happy to be joining Kiln.
So how large is the team? And because you're the VP of Americas, you're probably going out and chatting with institutional enterprise type clients who might not necessarily be in the weeds. Do you yourself get to kind of speak with the coders, talk to the engineers who are maintaining the hardware? How dirty do you get to get your hands?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the team at Kiln, we're about 72 people now, growing fast, and it is primarily a deep tech dev and engineering shop. There are very few of us on the biz dev side of the house. I'm fortunate. I feel like I got just enough tech in me that I can actually have conversations with our developers and engineers. And so, yes, my day job as VP of Americas, my job is to lead expansion here in the Americas. That's crypto natives, that is wallet providers, that is the institutions that are slowly making their way into the space. And so part of my job is to bring feedback to our dev and engineering teams about what they're looking for. Thankfully for me, for my core day-to-day job of helping expand Kiln's footprint here in the Americas, they know that. Kiln's been built from the ground up from day one with a focus on institutional level, SOC 2 cleared, enterprise level clients for whom this software, it's not like a CRM system. If your CRM goes down for an hour or two, that stinks. Your salespeople aren't so productive, but you're still in business. Mission critical software like running validator nodes for 4.5% of the Ethereum network like we do, that's mission critical. That is no miss, no fault. And so I like being a part of a team that does the deep dives to understand how we can be the premier leader of this mission critical software layer.
Mm-hmm. And Kiln kind of holds the number 3 title for the most amount of Ethereum staked. $3 billion in assets.
Just shy on Ethereum, yeah.
So what are the primary kind of lessons learned or key factors that make Kiln stand above all the other validators, and why do you have institutional, enterprise, retail users sticking their ETH with you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you serve a broad set of market segments? And so, like I mentioned, I think Kiln from early days recognized that this is not a hobbyist venture. This is for real. There's a lot of value at stake on any given day. And so Kiln from day one has been, again, really deep into the Ethereum ecosystem, been asked to and co-authored a couple of written pieces with consensus. And so really, our team, when it comes down to how do we service multiple clients, you have to start at the top and make sure all your security and trust issues and your built-in aspects of what you do, operational excellency, is there. So we're SOC 2 certified, we get the ISO 27001 certifications coming shortly. And so that allows you the first step in the door with the institutions who I need to talk to, right? If you don't have that, then we're not even having a conversation.
Right.
And so that's how we first got started, expanding to the different blockchains and making sure that when we think about what chains are out there, what's coming next, where is there community engagement, where is the architecture and security of the actual blockchain itself, does that meet our standards? And where do we think that we're going to see more growth? Where do we see applications building? That's how we figure out what protocols to work with. Then the next step there, to fully answer your question, is then you got to start talking to the service providers, the custodians, the wallets that are building on chain. And I think by getting validation from our historical proof of 99.95% uptime on ETH, no slashing events ever, truly like noticeable, publicly available, performance excellent, that allows us to have these conversations with all the different types of entities for whom we wish to work.
And so we look at like EigenLayer, which just relaunched and offers restaking opportunities. And so maybe people are looking for other ways they can use their staked assets for participating in these digital economies. How has like EigenLayer thrown a wrench into your plans, or how has it maybe added opportunity for what Kiln is doing?
Yeah, I definitely would say added opportunity. I will admit at first I was fascinated. Coming from TradFi, the idea of adding on like another layer was a little bit spooky, but in digging in and talking to the engineers and the team at Kiln, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And the use of modular blockchain, the ability to take one thing with economic security or value and use that as a part of staking or running other blockchains, fascinating. And so we really look forward, the EigenLayer launch, excellent. We're looking forward to partnering with a number of firms. I think we have, I'm going to say 8 or 9 live protocols now, with about 6 coming up shortly within the AVS system out there.
Cool.
And to me, personally, EigenLayer is awesome. And in a way, that led to like Bitcoin layer 2 staking, which is something else that we're starting to get into. Again, the idea that you can take an asset and use that as the economic foundation of staking, even if it's a whole separate chain. You don't need to stake the actual individual chain's token. Well, yeah, that now all of a sudden the world's largest digital asset, Bitcoin, that can be used too. So I find it fascinating, and you can tell I'm very passionate. I love what I'm doing. I love learning every day.
Yeah, so if somebody is like holding digital assets and they're trying to decide whether to stake with Kiln or someone else, what are some of the interesting ways in which Kiln helps increase yield opportunities for someone who stakes with your staking service provider?
Yeah, so a couple things. When we think about the clients that actually run ETH nodes, we are very specific about using multiple clients. We don't want to get locked into any one specific client. We've got a very specific anti-slashing program that for anyone interested, we're happy to give a demo and discuss how we handle our anti-slashing program. And again, like at the end of the day, performance. You go to Rata.network, we outperform on a regular basis. And again, like when digital assets started, right, this was kind of a hobbyist thing, and a couple of basis points here and there didn't matter. And now BlackRock's running tens of billions of dollars of digital assets. You know what? 13 basis points, that matters. 14 basis points, that matters. So our performance really is what leads us kind of, the fact that we've just got this operational excellence means we can get in the front door and talk to a lot of these players. Then the next step down is that we've got some performance that, again, demonstrably outperforms.
Right. And so given the launch of the Ethereum ETF and the Bitcoin ETF here in the States, that's kind of given more credence to those two networks being commodity networks that can't be shut down by a state. Are you now starting to see an increase in enterprise-type clients and institutional-type clients that are looking to collaborate with Kiln for staking?
100%. Staking is not allowed for the public ETFs here in the States. I think a lot of the providers believe that it will be at some point in time. And so I spend a lot of my time with our dedicated solutions engineers talking to these institutions and making them aware and acting as almost like an outsourced research partner for them.
Yeah, okay, so we've been talking about Ethereum, we did a little bit of talking about Bitcoin, but that's only a third of the amount of assets under management that Kiln's responsible for. You guys also provide staking services for 40 plus?
I think it's 45, don't quote me, it might be 46 today.
So what are the other types of networks that you provide staking services for? Are they mostly within the Cosmos ecosystem? Are we starting to see alt-L ones like Sui, everything in between? And what are the kind of considerations that go into it when you decide to onboard a new network to stake for?
Yeah, you nailed both of them. We're a part of both those networks right now. And I'll go back, when it's time to talk to a foundation, whether it's super duper early and it's a few people coding and come up with a cool idea, or they're more mature, maybe have a Series A, and really starting to talk about like testnet and mainnet launching. The questions, again, first off and foremost, it's like security. No matter how cool and trendy your blockchain may be, if there's no security on it or not strong enough security for us, it's not something we want to be a part of. And then you start to see, what are the trading use cases? What's the addressable market for what your blockchain specifically is focused on? What are you going to enable that the others are not enabling? We want to know what that is. And then community demand. That's really what we see. And then when the time comes, our job is to get in there and not just work to start working on our own version of working on validators in testnet mode, but giving feedback and like, hey, we picked up on this issue. Hey, we saw this somewhere else. And so, ideally, it's truly a partnership between those entities. Quite frankly, as you're a young protocol starting up, again, you got your seed or maybe your Series A, you need professionals who are coming in there in a way where like a free bug bounty as we're in your testnet and helping out.
Yeah. So I know that providing staking services for 40 plus chains is in itself a full-time job that you need to have tons of engineers and developers working full-time on. But if I could allow you to speculate, are there any other realms or verticals that these sort of doors open up for Kiln, for other types of services that the company might be providing in the future or sometime way down the road?
Yeah, I'd actually say in the near past, going into the present, soon future as well. So Kiln, with our strengths and with some of the clients we have, we were able to start building out what we call DeFi connectivity. And so really Kiln's thinking of ourselves as a kind of generalized rewards services company. So, one of the challenges is that stablecoins, less than about 5% or so of stablecoins are actually earning any sort of yield. They're generally sitting in wallets and they're just sitting there. But yield is important. And so we've seen more and more wallets start coming to us about our DeFi connectivity. And so in general, we're connecting to about 5 different yield protocols right now. We're not a yield protocol ourselves, we're non-custodial. We just allow for these wallets, custodial or non-custodial, but so far it's non-custodial, to allow their underlying clients to connect into DeFi yields and earn yields. And to tell you the truth, what I think is really interesting, Dylan, is the following. I think many of these wallets, and whether it's a digital wallet or a Web2 wallet, have historically charged transaction fees.
Yes.
That's how they get charged. But if you can create something now whereby you as a wallet creator allow your end users to earn some sort of yield, and you as the wallet creator can take some small portion of that revenue, now you can change your revenue model. Now I don't have to say I'm charging you 0.5% on any transaction. I'm saying, hey, transactions are free. Here's your choice of how you want to earn some interest. I'm going to take a small piece of it. So we really think that's going to change the business model, and that's something I'm excited for. I love thinking about the competitive structure of industries and where we can be a little bit disruptive.
So kind of zooming out and wrapping up, I've been asking a lot of the guests because we are here at a US-based conference. I just got back from Singapore, Token 2049, and there was a total difference between what's going on in the East and what's going on in the West. And so you've had some experience at Circle, you're working at Kiln, you're clearly a US-based entity or have a lot of footprints in the US. How does the regulatory ambiguity and or even perceived negative nature of the people at the top towards our industry impact the way that Kiln thinks about the services it provides and its ability to grow?
Good question, and deep, and that could probably be a long conversation, but I'll try to keep it short here. For Kiln, we still think the US has one of the largest opportunities possible for both staking and DeFi rewards. We know that we need legislative and or regulatory clarity before some of that happens. And so to tell you the truth, it's a little bit of a hurry up and wait. Again, we talk to all the major institutions, many of the ETF providers, many of the large asset holders who don't even publicly advertise that they're running digital assets, like spot products, not even futures or anything, but spot product. We're talking to them, and it's hey, we're like an outsourced research partner for them. when the time comes, here's what you can make available to your clients. And then they say, okay, but we think this type of reporting would be needed. And we say, great, we've got all the data. We can help you format reporting, make it easier on your treasury and ops team. And so that's really what we're doing. Is it's I don't want to say we're on standby, but again, it's a bit of a hurry up and wait here in the U.S. We're ready. We've got some clients in there for the don't have to be regulated side of things and separately managed accounts. And for the true institutions, we're there. We're talking to them on an everyday basis.
And kind of final question, we're at Permissionless 3, halfway through the first day. Have there been any key takeaways or key moments that you've seen at this event that have kind of stood out to you?
What's interesting to me is that Kristen Smith, Blockchain Association, had Tom Emmer on stage like she did back at MainNet.
Mm-hmm.
There are more and more US politicians, not necessarily regulars, but politicians who understand digital assets and see the opportunity and understand the risks as well. And they are working in the US legislature to make progress. And everyone in this industry would benefit if and when that happens. And so that's one of the takeaways to me is that, okay, and again, even at another conference last week, there were representatives from the House there. And so that's my takeaway, really, at a super high level. The regulators are paying attention. They're getting better educated about it. There's more and more of them who are paying attention. And that shortens, in my mind, the runway to when the digital assets industry has more clarity here in the US.
Cool. So who do you want to speak to, and what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
Awesome. So again, I'm Steve Leahy out of Kiln. You can find me, email steven.leahy@Kiln. Just go to the Kiln website, kiln.fi, and you can find me. But as far as who are looking to meet, I come here specifically with some pre-planned meetings for a number of the institutions that are out there who, again, are they're aware, they want to be ready, they may not be able to go live yet, but I have a number of those conversations, with the wallet providers as well, because again, the idea of adding DeFi connectivity to a lot of these non-custodial wallets can change the revenue model. It's very interesting. You get to compete differently in the same space. And then finally, any of the new protocols, please feel free to find me around the event here. We're always looking to see who's next, what's next. That's what we do.
Awesome, I appreciate your time, Steve.
Dylan, a pleasure chatting.
And if anybody wants to catch any of the other interviews we've had at Permissionless 3, head over to the Neo News Today YouTube channel to see those videos.